Andrew, my friend, are you ready? Are you ready? Okay. So we start. Putting on my beautiful London English accent.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Shalala. This is YouTube channel where we speak about Shanghai lifestyle, and we speak a bit about history of Shanghai through its architecture. Stay till the end of the video. We're gonna show you some very nice restaurant, but a bit later about this. Let me introduce myself. My name is Ivan Fetkin. This is a very good friend of mine and my co-host
Sergey. Hi.
So what we are gonna speak about in this episode. So
a man crossing just in front of us in an electric vehicle with no noise whatsoever. And this is one of the topics that we can talk about, because in Shanghai you almost don't hear any traffic because almost everything is electric. But back to you.
So this young man making jokes, I'm gonna be serious. So we're gonna touch a little bit a history in this episode, but don't think it's gonna be very nerdy and stuff. We're just gonna show you some cool stuff so you can show this to your Tinder date to make her think you're very smart. Always forks. Anyway, so today's topic, as you can see, we're standing next to the Russian Orthodox church that recently was turned into a bookstore. And today we're gonna speak about the history of Russian immigrants in China at the beginning of 20th century, how they get here, what they was doing here, and so on. And in the end of the video, we're gonna show you one of the best Shanghai places to have the cheesesteak sandwiches, and the owner of the restaurant also have connection to the Russian immigrants at the beginning of 20th century. But giving a word to Sergey. Sergey, let's go.
Okay, let's go. So we are not going to talk too much of the nitty-gritty details, but I think some of the fundamentals, some of the basics, if you live in Shanghai or are interested in Shanghai, you should know. So Shanghai became an international city in the middle of 19th century when foreigners started to come here, and there were two concessions formed. One was French concession, where we are now, and the second was international settlement, where many other nationalities came, and it was administered by mainly British. This concession was administered by the French, but that was all very flexible, so people could live anywhere, and Shanghai was a free port, so people could come here, just bring some money, bring their suitcases, and start living here and start doing business. And that was the reason why in the end of the 19th century, beginning of 20th century, Shanghai exploded, and lots of foreigners came here. The population was doubling every 10 years, and including Russians. So Russians came here in two different waves. The first were the business guys that came to do what Ivan is doing now, buying stuff here and selling stuff there. And then after the Russian Revolution, I'm correct, right?
The Bolshevik Revolution that happened in 1917.
Yeah, so they came here because they couldn't stay in Russia anymore.
There was an opposition to a new government.
Yeah, so so-called white Russians. So Russian population, and by Russians we mean not only ethnically Russian, we mean Russian speakers. So people from Ukraine or Russian Jewish people. There was a very, very large population. So in this part of town, so this road was called Rue Corneille, which is a French name because this part was French concession. So all the names
originally.
All names were French. And as you can see, the architecture here is pretty European, but that was all was built about 100 years ago. But people were building buildings here which looked like they were in Europe. And the trees and everything else had some European flair, European flavor. And that was almost like a little Kiev.
Little Kiev, little Moscow.
Little Moscow.
That's interesting fact if you're familiar, like for example in LA, there is like Little Italy, Chinatown, Little Russia and stuff. Nowadays in Shanghai there is no more things like this, but back in the day, beginning of 20th century, this place was called Little Moscow.
Yeah, Little Moscow, because this area and the next road, Nanchand today, and the next road, Huaihailu, which was Avenue Joffre, that was Russian area. So here, in any case, obviously everything was dominated by Chinese population, but you were meeting a lot of people, Europeans, in this part of town, and it was 99% Russian. So now we're going to cross the road. So many Russians were coming here from the north.
North of China.
North of China, from Harbin. Because the city of Harbin effectively was a Russian city. At some point in 1920s, there was about 250,000 Russians living in Harbin. Because Russians were administrating and managing the railroad in north of China, and many people, after Russia stopped, Soviet Union stopped administering railroad, they wanted to go somewhere, and they were coming to Shanghai, and many ladies, young ladies, were coming to Shanghai.
And here we come for some spicy part. Not everyone who came in China at the beginning of 20th century was like successful businessmen, or educated people, or wealthy people. Some people, especially some ladies, came here looking for a better life, and some of them end up not quite well. You know what I mean, that massage with some extra care for a couple bucks. Yeah, unfortunately this happened here as well, like 100 years ago. Nowadays, nothing like this in China, but before it was. And now we would like to show you the place that was fixing and giving this poor ladies new life.
Yeah, so basically lots of ladies that were coming from Harbin, they were caught by the agencies which basically wanted them to work in massage places which were equivalent. At that time there were usually some bars where you could go, and there were ladies whom you could dance with.
If you've been to Pattaya or Patong in Thailand, you know what we mean.
So, and then there was a charity formed by some Russian community people, and also by quite famous oligarch, local oligarch Viktor Sassoon, about whom we will talk separately. And so they bought a house, this house, and it was made a hostel for Russian women. Let's get a picture, original one. And effectively here 20 Russian ladies were living at any time, and they could come and they could live here for 3 months. So they were getting free lessons in English, because you needed, everybody was speaking English. Shanghai
just
was
like
English.
Today.
Yeah, you needed to speak English. So English lessons, typing lessons, because secretaries needed to know how to type on a typewriter. And so for 3 months they could get there, live there, enjoy their life.
For free.
For free. And then they were out in the society looking for a job, not a bad job. Look at that.
Oh, that's amazing.
By the way,
it's a nice family of gingers.
By the way, today we are in the middle of November, and the weather is absolutely glamorous. And I think we can also have a video of this guy. This guy is wearing pajamas.
It's a very classic autumn-winter pajama.
Winter pajama, and it's absolutely normal to wear a pajama outside. There is absolutely no problem. You just decided to have a cigarette outside.
I do. I do have the same pajama.
Do you have a pajama?
Yeah. I don't have like this like the warm one, but I have like quite same one for wearing home.
So do you go outside in a pajama?
I go outside to get my delivery stuff.
Okay, that's cool.
And
so next episode will be Ivan
gonna help you to select the best pajama for the price. Anyway, let's get back to my and Sergey roots. Sergey is from St. Petersburg, Russia. Me, myself, I'm from Kiev, Ukraine. And right now we're going like through some kind of compound. And Sergey, I think this is kind of same thing you have back in St. Petersburg. Like you can go from one street to another through the buildings.
Yeah, exactly. So in St. Petersburg, St. Petersburg is much more organized than Shanghai. Shanghai actually is the French concession. This part is very tricky. So you don't have straight streets. The streets are waving and triangles. No, we go this way. Yeah, we go this way because we will go back to Nanchand. And so here is, as you can see, there are big villas. So this area had big gardens, and obviously this building didn't exist before. But these are large buildings which were built in the late 20s, early 30s, and they belong to most likely wealthy Chinese businessmen who liked to live in the area where foreigners lived.
And back in like 100 years ago, this place right now, by the way, all the locations we are walking around, you can see in the description below. So you take your date, take your wife, take your husband, do the same walkie. Anyway, back in the day, this location was not like a city center. It was like somewhere like far, because the city center, main place where all the stuff was happening, was the Bund The band.
So that was like a countryside that was almost like living outside of the city. Like in Moscow there is Rublyovka, where people live.
Or like Long Island in
wealthy.
New York.
Exactly. So that was a quite a distant area, but it grew so fast, and so people bought huge parcels of land, built a house, and later on they just sold the land. And so you can see situations when all of a sudden in the corner of a large garden there is a huge building coming up, which the old owner sold, because population was exploding. Shanghai in the beginning of the 30s, especially after the Japanese started to invade China, lots of Chinese population came to Shanghai because many Chinese people thought that foreign concessions would be able to protect them. So the population exploded.
Yeah. And let's get back to the topic, Russian immigration. So as we speak before, part of people were the one who was against the regime, and some was like ladies who had unfortunate luck to came here. And very important thing, lots of well-educated people came in Shanghai as well, and specifically connected to our topic, we're speaking about their architects. Still in Shanghai, you can see some of the buildings that was built by architects that have Russian roots. And are we coming to one of the buildings?
Yes. Actually, we will probably see it from this side. So let's cross. Another interesting thing about Russian and former Russian-speaking population was that after the Russian Revolution they came here, and in 1922 they all lost passports because effectively Soviet Union said, okay, either you become a Soviet citizen, or if you don't want to become a Soviet citizen, you are nothing. So lots of Russians lost passports, and most of the Russians which lived here, they were stateless. They had no passport. So in their documents, it effectively said stateless. So that building, for example, is a beautiful, beautiful Astrid Apartments. And that was built by an architect from Vladivostok.
Vladivostok, yeah.
Just like Andrew.
Hit the like button if you know people from Vladivostok, like our camera guy Andrew. You can see this a building. It's a great example of the Art Deco, isn't it,
Yep.
Sergey? Yeah.
Lots of geometrical lines, very, very parallel structures, a lot of small, fine details, also very modernistic, because if you look at that building, for example, you have rays and you have sun and you have water and mountains, and it's all kind of looking into the future, because that was the time when you have airplanes, automobiles, everything was looking into the future. So that was the architecture, and it's a very, very beautiful, I think, and it was a very short period of time when that style was dominating.
If I'm not mistaken, Shanghai like once was called like as a capital of the Art Deco or something.
Yeah, absolutely. And talking about flights and pilots. So this road, which is called Nanchand today, and in Russian version it was called Nahаловка, because it was much simpler to say Нахаловка than to say Nanchand, which Russians didn't really learn Chinese. But in the old times, it was called Rue Vallon. Vallon was the pilot, was one of the first French guy. He was the guy who flew all around China in his airplane, and it was one of the first guys to come and to bring an airplane to China and to fly from one city, another city, another city. And so when he was coming to Shanghai, he was supposed to land in Shanghai on the big field, and he crashed and he died.
The big field, you're speaking about the big field on the People's Square. Modern days,
Cats. So this is another example of Shanghai. It is very typical to have cat shops like this, where there are some just cats sitting there. You can buy a cat, right? You can buy a cat.
You can buy a cat, but myself having two cats, I found them on the street.
But you can rent a cat as well. So if I want to rent a cat, can I rent a cat?
I'm not sure if you can rent a cat, but probably it's an option.
You can lease a cat. I'm sure you can lease a cat. Anyway, so this guy, he came to Shanghai.
Rue Vallon.
René Vallon. And he crushed and he died in front of all the people who came to see him.
And his wife.
And so they called this road, which was newly made at that time, as you remember, 1914. Before 1914, that was countryside. Just 100 years ago, that was a field. There were fields of vegetables and whatever.
And one interesting thing about Shanghai, if you have been here or if you only plan to come in Shanghai, in French concession, all the roads are like snakes, like not straight roads. A lot of turns and small streets between. This was made. This was planned to be like this because I think that's like a French tradition to make these roads like curvy and things to make it more interesting.
Yeah, it was just a smart idea because the city planning was made by the French Municipal Council. And French Municipal Council was very small. In general, it's shocking, surprising that there were only, in the 1930s, there were only 2,500 French living in Shanghai, and
But till now, you can feel their influence.
25,000 Russians. Yeah. So the French Municipal Council, it had a very good idea of how to cut the roads. Do you know how they made money? French Municipal Council, where the money was made?
Selling wine and cheese.
Well, basically getting taxes from opium dens and brothels.
Probably we're gonna cut this part from final YouTube cut, but stay in touch. And ladies and gentlemen, we are coming to our final destination. This is the place that we were talking at the beginning. One of the best places in Shanghai for the
grilled
cheesesteaks.
But actually, you know, before we go there, also just one very interesting thing, how the old and new are so close together. Let's just go to see one small building. You have a small building which nobody knows what it is. A very European looking, nothing special, just normal building. But that used to be a women's Russian Orthodox women's orphanage and a convent. So in this building, 100 years ago, there were about 100 Russian Orthodox women living here, and little girls who were, because so many Russians were coming and losing their parents, and so there were some situations where children were left. So they organized this convent, and these girls also, they produced a lot of different dairy products. They were selling here. There was a shop, and lots of foreign community was coming here to buy Russian
dairy products.
Cream cheese.
Should be good business, because like French are a lot about cheese and they need a good dairy stuff.
Yeah. So all the cows, by the way, in Shanghai, they came in the end of the 19th century, and where the Shanghai Library is today, that used to be a dairy farm, or a series of big dairy farms where they were growing cows. To make cheese.
Anyway,
and cheese, we are going to Cochise.
So we are in a Cochise, one of the best places in Shanghai for cheesesteak sandwiches. We're gonna order some stuff and we're gonna have a quick talk with the owner of the place, speak about his family and his background, how he got in China, and then he's gonna introduce us his signature stuff. Stay here. So guys, we just finished this great sandwiches, and here in front of you is the owner of the Cochise place, Greg. So we're gonna have a small interview. Greg, can you tell us about your family background and how you get in China?
Okay, yeah, my family background, I'm Canadian, but both my parents emigrated from Poland to Canada in 1972, a few years before I was born, so I consider myself a Polish Canadian. And I came to China in 2004 for the first time, and I was working, and then in 2014 I opened this grilled cheese shop called Cochise, and that's how that story goes.
So give us like a quick feedback about your restaurant career in Shanghai. Like, is it tough? How is it going?
It's certainly hard work, and there's a lot of you need help from some, to set the place up, from legal and accounting, and you've got to deal with government. But once all that's done, it's a lot of fun. It's a great way to meet people, make friends. I serve great food, which I'm happy with, and people like it. And my whole concept was to introduce something new to Shanghai. a new kind of food that might be common back home but isn't here. Comfort food, let's say. So I'm having a good time. But it's hard work. Don't think it's easy.
Unfortunately, we already finished all the sandwiches and we don't have nothing to show you, but Greg, give a quick
That's
tip.
the best. Empty basket is the best picture.
Give a quick tip for our viewers if they're going to have a chance to visit your place, what they should get here, what should they try?
This.
Okay, so the most famous one is the Philly cheesesteak. I don't know, did you take a picture before?
We did.
Okay, so the Philly cheesesteak, that's the sliced ribeye with grilled onions and American cheese and a nice bun. Very simple, very good. We also do some Chinese fusion sandwiches, like the Hunanese pork, like a Hunan Nongjia Xiao Chao roll in a sandwich with cheese, so that's a bit different. And if you want to go drinking here, we're also a bar, you can do a pickleback. Pickleback is a shot of whiskey followed by a shot of pickle juice. I think Russians will like this very much, so pickle juice whiskey shot. Good.
Anyway, thank you very much. It was a great time. We're going to continue drinking and eating. I hope you're going to do your business great.
Right,
Thank you very much.
Man. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Just so good.
Yeah. I like mine with a little bit of ketchup inside.
Ketchup.
I think it's really nice with ketchup.
So this ketchup.
No, that's
mustard.
hot mustard. Just normal ketchup. So all inside, yeah.